Well, it's election season, so it's time for more candidate conversations, and I'm sitting here now with Melody Peterson, who is the Mason County Assessor and is running for re-election. Hi, Melody. How you doing?
I'm doing great.
Thanks for being here and talking with me and everyone about the assessor race. You're the current assessor, so talk with me a little bit about that position and how it relates within the county.
Well, what we do, our main concern is valuing all the properties in the county so that the taxes can be built upon that value. So our biggest concern is making sure that everyone's valued correctly and that all of our neighborhoods are cohesive and they make sense in the values that we apply.
How do you effectively explain the appraisal value of properties?
Well, what we do is mass appraisal. So what we're looking at is more a range of value and does it make sense within the neighborhood or the area that it's in? And because we can't use real current sales, the way the law reads, we have to use the prior sales for the last 3 years, that we're almost a year behind when we're establishing the values. But in the end, what we're trying to do is make sure that everyone looks good for the sales that we've used to establish that value and the houses are correctly identified and that everyone is on basically the same playing field. So when the taxes are applied, which is your levy rate, that everyone is taxed fairly.
Talk to me. On the website, I was reading about two types of assessed pieces of property, perhaps. It's real property and personal property. What's the difference with those
That's a
things?
confusing one. Well, real property, of course, is land. Personal property is usually attached to a business, and it's anything that you use within your business to generate revenue for that business. So it would be computers, it could be desks and chairs. It's just dependent on the business. What we would pick up for that personal property. Of course, some of the larger businesses or like the mills, they have some huge pieces of machinery that come with a large value to them. So it does add up, and we have a person that takes care of that and does a really good job with it.
How do you determine the values of new construction and major improvements?
For new construction, what we do is this time of year, we only have till August 31st to pick up new construction, and it has to be valued as of July 31st. So we go out and look at the new construction as it's in progress. So if they only have a foundation there, we only value that foundation for this year, or we have a checklist to decide what % of completeness it is, and then we will only value it for that completeness for the next year's taxes, and then the following year we go out and complete the value on those properties.
If someone is unhappy, I guess the word, with their assessed property values, what are the actions that they can take, and how does that process work?
Okay, since we've sent out the values, a lot of people are learning now, but what we do is we encourage everyone to call our office to make sure that we've got everything correct, because that is our main goal, is to make sure that we have your property valued correctly. So we want to make sure the square foot of the house is correct, that the quality and condition of the house is correct, to make sure that maybe you've added a new building or you've destroyed one. We want to make sure that's all taken into the record. Totally forgot.
The other was major improvements. Just would be in general upgrades. You know, they're getting ready to do ribbon cuttings on the hospital campus there, just things like that.
Okay. Yeah, what we do is we work with the building permit. So we know when a permit's issued, and then we keep watch on it. We can see when maybe the foundation has been signed off on, or the framing and all of that. So we do follow what the permitting from both the city and the county is doing at the time, and keep tabs on what's happening, so to make sure that we have our value correct on those.
There's a lot of different pockets within Mason County, and some places have higher property values than others, and some have more land than others and things like that. When you're talking with the public or they come and are asking questions, what are some of the keys to successful communication with the public, especially when it comes to property values and people's homes? You know, they say the home is their castle.
Yes, and I agree. It is your castle, and again, we if you do have some concerns about the value that we've been placed on your property, come in and talk to us. If we can't resolve it at that point, we do have the Board of Equalization that is separate from us, where you can go and appeal your value there, and that group of people will make a decision on the value. What you would do is come in and present your comparable sales or whatever you're using. We would basically do the same thing, and each entity would explain how they came up with the value and how they think it's right or how they think it's wrong, and then that Board of Equalization will decide on a value. They may support us, they may not, and if they continue to, or not continue, but if they decide that they side with us and you're still unhappy with that value, there's the State Board of Tax Appeals, and basically it's the same process at a higher level.
When it comes to the office of the assessor in general, you know, it sounds, as you've been explaining, that this is kind of the way a lot of the monies come into the county. Are your needs in the assessor's office being met from the county budget, or can you provide any examples of how more staffing or more equipment or technologies would help the assessor's office be more efficient?
Yes, we have received a tremendous amount of budget cuts. We've had to be very creative, think outside the box to make sure that we get the basic work done. We have submitted our budget for next year, and we did ask to have everyone's hours reinstated to full-time, and that would help tremendously. We certainly would like to bring in at least one more employee to spread the work out a little bit, but we've really worked hard to get the work done to make sure that we have good values and good service to the taxpayers. But yeah, it's been a challenge.
If you were at fully staffed to what you feel would be appropriate, what would the benefit to the county and to the constituents be?
Well, there's many projects that we have basically on the back burner because we don't have enough people to go in, and they could be minor things, they could be more major things that we just have to chip away at all the time, but it would be nice to have the luxury of time to be able to complete those and be able to meet all our state deadlines without a lot of stress. And I know that probably all of the employees feel a little stressed at this point, and it would be nice to just relieve that a little bit and to make sure that we keep current with everything that comes through our office that needs to be done on a daily basis, and just kind of give us some breathing room would be really great.
In the last minute or two here, go ahead, look at this camera, and talk to the voters about why they should keep you in the assessor's office.
Well, thank you. I've worked in the assessor's office for over 20 years. I was promoted to several different areas within the assessor's office. Over the years, I was selected to be the chief deputy assessor, held that position for 7 years, and then I ran for election in 2010. I feel that I've guided the office through 2 major changes that we've had to deal with, and I have been good in being creative, thinking outside the box, and coming up with some creative solutions to some really tough problems that we've dealt with. I like my job, and I'd like to continue serving the taxpayers of Mason County for the next 4 years.
She is running for assessor and continuing in that position. It's Melody Peterson. Thank you.
Well, thank you for inviting me.